actually, my man Sean, our resident MMA fan, he has a Ask Us Bro question because I think that we are ready for Ask Us Bro.
Yeah.
And
We got time for one because I'm about to get back in this crypt after this.
you're gonna get in the crypt. Come on, man, don't get in the crypt.
I need to unlock some costumes, man.
What I hope they listened to you and told you, when they said that it was too hard and things happen, all these bad things that y'all was whining about because y'all can't take nothing out here in these streets. But did you? I'm trying to pull. I was trying to get it back up for because basically he was saying, is there if there's anything can TJ Dillashaw do to repair his image after the failed drug test?
First of all, he need to stop drinking every drop of the Rock's tequila, because that man looked like he went through 18 years of alcoholism in one weekend.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, well, I'm quite sure there's a little bit of a depression going on there. I mean, everything that
he was unrecognizable.
Yeah, everything that he worked on, man, or worked for one way or the other is gone.
Yeah, he looked like TJ Dillashaw's overweight older cousin.
Yeah, man, it all dropped pretty bad. It all pretty
it was days.
I also wanted to tell you that your artwork is dope and
much
is
appreciated.
playing the sports and gaming world, and I really appreciate you saying that as well, Sean.
Same here.
But here's the thing. MMA is extremely forgiving as a sport. Very rare. I mean, think about the people who are still existing in the MMA world right now, and you think about some of the things that they've done and the fact that they're still there. I mean, there's a lot of people who have been caught with PEDs that are still doing it. I mean, look at John. I mean, John's situation is definitely different, but I mean, he has the dirt on his record. And the thing of it is that one thing we talked about on the show is that not all PED, violations are created equally. So it's definitely different. And TJ's is definitely one of the worst ones you're gonna ever see because of what he was taking.
Yeah, a picogram of tainted supplements is different than you coming out the locker room with 4 needles sticking out your butt with the super soldier serum dripping from them.
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, if you got a guy who is taking the something to enhance his endurance, and his endurance is his biggest attribute, that's an issue. And
he was taking the worst of the worst.
Yes.
For at least a decent amount of time. I think what hurts Dillashaw more, honestly. See, John was the best fighter ever. He still is. He's the best fighter of all time. One of the greatest fighters of any kind that's ever lived. So with John, him coming back depended heavily upon him getting his head right. That's what everybody said about John, right?
Yes.
As long as John gets his head in the game and he keeps out the clubs, keeps off the drugs.
Well, actually, I think John was smoking in the room. I don't think he needed to go to the club. John was not a social user.
Right. So as long as John cleaned up his act, he would be fine. The issue with Dillashaw is at Dillashaw's age, which is, he's going to be older than John was when he came back, significantly so.
Yeah.
And the fact that we don't know how good Dillashaw is when he's clean. So coming back older and being clean, I think it's less about the moral aspect of his redemption and more about the fact that MMA is very what have you done for me lately.
Yeah.
And if Dillashaw 2 years removed comes into a hot division and loses 2 fights, he's going to get thrown away real quick.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, I think the least amount of Dillashaw's worries is his reputation. Like, I don't think that'll be an issue. I think that he'll be allowed to fight. And, when he comes back, I think that they'll accept him. Because to a lesser degree, right? Chad Mendez popped and just served a 2-year suspension, right? But when he came back, he wasn't the same guy.
Right.
And that was more of an issue than whether or not he was going to be accepted. He was accepted. He just couldn't fight anymore without the juice. Or maybe he lost the hunger. Whatever the reason, his problem was competing, not getting the access. And I think that TJ is going to have the same problem.
Agreed. If TJ can come back and be excellent, I think he'll be fine. But if TJ comes back and he's not as good as he was when he was clean, or his training isn't as good, or he's just older. Again, he's in a division where age punishes you a lot more so than the heavier divisions.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be more about his octagon performance. 1989 had a question: why is Mark Jackson not getting a second chance? Is he taking the John Gruden approach?
I honestly think that Mark Jackson really burned some bridges with the way that things went with Golden State. Because I think everybody knows that Mark Jackson didn't lose his job because he couldn't coach. And Steve Kerr often would concede that, this is Mark Jackson's team. He said that early on. He isn't saying it as much now because the team had an opportunity to, actually grow with him. But Mark Jackson set this team up for a championship. He set this team up. He built that DNA with this team that really launched it into where it is now. So I don't think that his issue is that he can't, or that even that general managers don't think he can. I think that it is 100% a character issue. Well, I shouldn't say a character issue, a character concern. And I think that that's where the issue is with Mark Jackson.
And when we say character concern, we don't mean that Mark is a bad guy, because
Exactly. I'm
clearly,
talking about their concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, are you playing on? Oh no, yeah, you on PS4. The concern with Mark is that in an organization, he creates a culture that the organization doesn't want. And this is controversial because it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Because the players, when Mark was initially fired, I think maybe with the exception of Draymond, they were really upset. They wanted Mark around.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, initially had a very negative reaction to Mark getting let go. So it's not a players thing, it's an organizational thing. And it's always important to understand, and I know you guys know this, but just for the sake of reminder, it gets very political in an organization.
Yes. And the higher you go, it gets even more political.
Absolutely. So with Mark, he's going to be working in the most political realm, being in the front office, and you know, you mess up with the politics, and you can really, it doesn't matter how good you are a lot of time.
Yeah. And I think Mark may have just pissed off the wrong person. And he may have pissed off a person who has significant influence. And that is what is hindering him right now. But I do think he'll get another shot. I do. I think
Yeah, I've heard of people who wanted to hire him.
Yeah, I think Phoenix is definitely a possibility. We'll see if that
Well,
happens.
here's a good question. Who do you think? Where do you think he should go?
I think Phoenix is a great place for him to go.
Hmm.
And the reason why I think that is because Phoenix doesn't really have an identity yet. And I think Mark needs to go someplace where they don't have an identity so that he can give them one. And the identity that he'll give them is a winning identity. What I'm not sure about yet, and only maybe because he hasn't had an opportunity to prove it, is Mark a get you over the hump guy, or is he a get you to the hump guy? Because but he didn't get a chance to prove it.
Yeah.
Maybe he is.
No, they got better every year.
Yeah, they got better every year. Steph got it better as a player.
And so someone made the excellent point that the Draymond Green issue wasn't some genius by Kerr. David Lee got hurt. He had to play Draymond Green.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. But
I think the Lakers would be the best for him and the Lakers.
Yeah, that's an interesting place for me. That's an interesting thing for me there. I honestly think. Here's another thing. I think that Billy Donovan should be on the hot seat. I really do. I really think that. I think that I would be interested in seeing how Mark Jackson and Russell Westbrook how they mesh. I would really be interested in that.
What I would like about Mark and OKC is they have a lot of good defensive talent, particularly if Robertson comes back healthy. Because people forget he was an elite perimeter defender. So Mark, with that kind of personnel, I think could do some good things. I'm easy on Donovan for the same reason I only give a percentage of the blame to Westbrook, and that's because the roster is poorly constructed offensively. Their shooting is just too bad. That's on Presti. If Presti puts shooting around them and they still are struggling with spacing or they're still struggling with ball movement or something like that, then it's a different story. But their lack of depth makes them really susceptible to health problems, which is what they ran into when Paul George was healthy. They were an elite team in the league, and he came back not healthy. And when they lost one of their very few shooters that they had, also, so they're down 3 players basically. And I don't put that on Donovan necessarily. Give him shooters. If he doesn't improve from there, then yeah. But I need to see Billy Donovan with a competent shooting roster.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. He worries me. He really worries me. He worries me. It would be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, Mark Jackson, I think in either of those 3 places is not a bad thing. If the Thunder job was to become available, I think he'd be a great fit there. Lakers, I think he's a really good fit. I'm still crazy, naive, whatever enough to say I would love to see the person who's actually going to coach LeBron. I would love to see the person. And Mark Jackson might be the type of guy who would try.
That's what I like about
he'll get fired trying, but
well, that's the thing. I think first of all, Mark, let's not forget he was a great point guard. One of the top all-time in assists. Very, very intelligent distributor of the basketball. So I think when he talks basketball with LeBron, he's not afraid to talk basketball with LeBron.
Right.
And I think that's a really positive thing.
Truly, honestly, Luke Walton shouldn't have been afraid to talk basketball with LeBron.
Well, Luke Walton, I believe, was part of the same draft class as LeBron.
That's hurtful. No, it is, because especially the older you get, the least likely you are to listen to people your age or younger.
Correct.
That's just the way people are. Because one of the first things an older person starts to say is, "How old are you?"
Right.
In the middle of any type of conflicting ideas or concepts, a person says something, you go, "How old are you?" And if the person answers with an age that's 5 years younger or more, or the same age in this situation, you're like, "Oh, okay, bro." And I think that I don't know. I don't know. I really think that somebody has to coach him. Because somebody asked a question a little bit earlier today, and we're gonna bounce out after this, but they asked, is LeBron James a stat patter? And I think it was 1989.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he has been a stat patter most of his career or all of his career. I think he has gone through that, and I think he has been that kind of guy at times. But when they've won, I don't think he's been when he's won championships, I don't think he's been it. When he was in Miami, I don't think he was a stat patter. I think he was like, I got to win a championship. You know why I got to win a championship? Because I haven't won one, and I can't validate this career unless I win one. So at that time, I don't think he was, but I do think there were times there when LeBron feels that his team can't win, and this is not a positive trait at all. So let's just be clear about that. But when LeBron thinks that he can't win, that's when he becomes a stat pattern, because in his mind, it appears, as I'm not in his mind, but it appears as though he says, I'm going to put up my numbers so nobody can say it's because of me. That's what it looks like to me. It's like, okay, we can't win, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Y'all get off my back.
I'm actually going to agree with you to some extent. I don't think the term stat pattern is accurately thrown around, because people will find 1 or 2 plays and be like, this guy's a stat pattern, when NBA players frequently tell you almost everyone's a stat pattern, because stats is how you get paid.
Yep.
So they all pad stats. So to say that there's a few players out there who don't care about their numbers, they could score more than they do, but they're satisfied with their situation. That's the exception. And those guys generally aren't stars. There's some exceptions to that, like say Kevin Durant could probably score 35 pretty easily. That is not the way he enjoys playing the game.
Easy.
Right. That's not the way he likes playing the game. Right. Giannis, I would actually say. If Giannis, that's one of the reasons I have him for MVP. Giannis sat down a lot of these games. He could have stayed in and scored another 5, 10 points and gotten 30, 12, and 6, which looks better than 27, 12, and 6, and close the door to that conversation. Other guys would have done that. Giannis isn't that way, but most guys are like that. So to put that on LeBron as if Rudy Gay ain't trying to get as many points as he could possibly get, that's ridiculous.
He's just not as gifted.
Right. That's what it is. Most guys just aren't as good.
Yeah.
So, but that having been said, do I think LeBron plays losing basketball and is satisfied with getting his numbers? Yes, I do.
Especially once he gets to the point where he has decided in his head that we're not good enough, that who I got with me is not good enough, he goes into that mode.
I don't know if that's it, because he did it on the Cavaliers when, all right, we were going to leave, but I got to throw this out there real quick. So many of those old Cavaliers are producing just fine on other teams, right? Like you look at Jay Crowder, just fine, or was it DeMar Carroll? I always get them confused.
Well, no, Jay Crowder.
Jay Crowder, they twins. Jay Crowder playing just fine in his situation. George Hill, valuable asset to the Milwaukee Bucks.
Though he was, you know what it was he was playing great in Boston. He came to Cleveland and sucked, and then he got back to who he was when he went to Utah.
Magically, right?
He's there. He's not that Jay Crowder. That was never going to work right with him in Cleveland.
But here it's Derrick Rose, right? Derrick Rose on Cleveland looked like he couldn't play a lick of basketball. He goes to the Timberwolves, and he was running six-man before Lou Williams went crazy. Dwayne Wade looked completely washed. Goes back to Miami. Are you sure you want to leave? Why don't you play another year? You get 16 points a game easy. It appeared to be a situation, and this is what was my criticism of LeBron. The last thing he wants to do is play defense. The last thing he wants to do is hustle at this point in his career. And that's what I think gets confused with him looking for the numbers. I don't think it's about him looking for the numbers. I don't think he's scoring the most points he could score or getting the most assists he could get. I think he's playing to his comfort. And his comfort is empty statistics. That's always been a part of his game, is empty statistics. He's just a guy who's going to get you rebounds, get you assists that don't necessarily add up to what you need winning all the time. When he was younger, he played much better defense, which does add to the winning. And he was, like Giannis, completely unstoppable going to the basket, which also adds to winning. As he got older and became more jump shotty and stopped playing defense, it got to a thing where on D, he's standing around watching his teammates play, pointing out mistakes when they do stuff wrong. And then on offense, he's waiting for the ball, gets the ball, and holds the ball. I don't think that's necessarily him stat padding. I think he's just being comfortable. And as far as his losing situation, I think that creates suboptimal teammate play, which in Cleveland, again, almost every player I could think of that was like a starting level player played better when they left that situation.
Yeah.
And more than one, more than two, more than three, right?
I think that situation was just horrible. And here's one thing I will always admit about LeBron. LeBron does not make bad situations better.
Right.
He makes bad situations worse.
Well, I felt like in Cleveland, if he played 20% less offense and 20% more defense, they would have had a better record and been a better team.
Honestly, I feel like if he just had a general better attitude in his last year in Cleveland, they would have been a better team.
I agree with that too. Rodney Hood, good shout out to the chat, our intelligent chat coming up with it again. He's another one.
He just didn't have the right mindset at all at the end. And some of that I give a little bit of respect to. LeBron's one of those players. Like LeBron's one of my favorite players. He's, Derek's my favorite player. LeBron's my second favorite player. But that doesn't mean I ignore the shortcomings, right? LeBron's one of those dudes that I've met a lot of NBA players. I got an opportunity to talk to a lot, interview a few, and so on and so forth. I've never met LeBron, and I actually don't want to, because I have a feeling that it's going to be bad, right? Because
people I know that have met him said he's a great dude.
Yeah, but see, I know the opposite. The thing I've heard is the opposite. So,
okay.
But I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe it wouldn't be that way. But the thing
I know some people who've run charities for him.
Yeah, LeBron is his body language, all of that from a leadership standpoint is something that when things go bad, it's nasty and it makes everything worse. And that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate because, I'll be the first to tell you he's not the best leader at all. He's not, because the greatest leaders, the best leaders are great even when things are bad. And LeBron is not at his best when things are bad. So that is a sincere criticism of one of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Just not at his best when things are bad at all. And I think there's a lot of people who suffered through LeBron pitching a fit for like a good portion. And then another bad thing about this, something that he does is he throws his fit and creates a disturbance. And then when he gets himself back together, it's like, oh, everything's cool. Well, you've already created the distraction. And just because you're over it or you're moving on or you've decided to whatever, doesn't mean that these 6 guys who have been affected, and they're not as talented as you, so they can't get 27, 7, and 8 like you can get it as easy as you can get it. So, like I said, those are sincere criticisms about a player that I truly, truly love to watch play. So,
yeah. I don't even throw Brandon Ingram in that group, funny enough. Brandon Ingram played a lot better once LeBron got hurt.
Yeah, he just doesn't play well with LeBron, just period. And maybe it's because LeBron didn't trust him like a true second get your own offense guy. Because when LeBron trusts you like he trusts Kyrie and like he trusted Dwayne Wade, he allows that player to do his thing. I don't know if he ever trusted him in that way. For whatever reason, it is what it is. But all right, guys, I appreciate everybody who was down, who watched the whole 9. As usual, you can make sure, if you have not subscribed, please do. If you have not liked this video yet, please like it. If you have not shared it, please do that too. And if you don't know, I have my own channel. We do sports and gaming the same way over there. So if you're not aware of that, make sure you subscribe to that. It's UniqueMazique. And there is Nelson's Twitter handle. I was just about to hit Twitter after that. He has his Twitter handle. Mine is UniqueMazique. So go ahead and follow there as well. God bless and peace.